Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name's Amelia and here on this channel we talk about writing, journaling, and scrapbooking to help you curate a life that you love. So, I am meaning to get into more scrapbook stuff soon. I just haven't done it yet, so we're just going to do a little chatty video for today. I know that we kind of did a chatty video like last week, talking about like the zodiac signs and doing the flip through, but I'm just going to count it as a scrapbooking video because I need some time. Also, before we get into everything, I wanted to apologize about the lighting once again. I live in Indiana, it is rainy season, it's spring, so apologies for the crappy lighting. Anyway, for today's video, I wanted to actually update my content a little bit and talk about something I've already kind of tread over before, but I think that I need an updated version because when I had done the video before, I like crunched a lot of information into one tiny video, and I feel like it's time to go into more depth. So today we're talking about journaling with the full moon and journaling with the new moon. So we're going to do both today because I feel like both are very important. I typically journal on the new and full moon like a lot because, you know, they happen every month, but I don't really journal on like the waxing gibbous and the waning crescent. Like I don't do that as much as I used to. I used to kind of follow those and then look at the moon cycle, the moon phase for inspiration, but my practice, I guess, my journaling routine has grown and changed, and I don't really do that anymore. I might make a video on that stuff if you guys are interested, specifically about journaling on different moon phases again, but I do have a video called Journaling with the Lunar Phases that I made a very, very long time ago. The video is probably very crappy. I honestly do not want to go back and watch it. I don't even want to know, but that's there if you want to see it. Don't tell me how bad it is. I don't want to know. But in that video, I had a lot of questions from people about the difference between the new moon and the full moon, and I think when I made that video, I was also kind of unclear about it. I wasn't very articulate in how I spoke about those two things. So this time, I want to course correct, and I want to give you guys a very clear understanding about what it is to journal with the new moon versus the full moon and all of that good stuff. So let's stop babbling in this intro and go ahead and jump into the bulk of this video. But of course, before we do so, if you like this video or like this kind of content, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. It really helps out me and my channel. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff like this. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So first and foremost, I really wanted to cover the difference between the new moon and the full moon as far as what they represent and how you want to go about journaling with the two. Now, I personally prefer journaling with the new moon over the full moon, and that is because the new moon is all about goal setting and intention making. During the new moon, you want to manifest. You want to write down your goals and attract the abundance that you want in your life. And I know this kind of sounds like spiritual woo-woo sometimes. I think that in the spiritual community, which I am, I guess, a part of, technically, I frequent it a lot, that these kinds of buzzwords do come up a lot. But I think that with the new moon in particular, it's about setting your goals, setting your intentions, and manifesting the things that you want in life. And whether you're spiritual or not, which I assume you are a little bit, or at least curious about it if you're watching this video about journaling with the moon, because I think that most people don't do that. But if you're here, you're probably interested in these spiritual connotations as well. So yeah. So of course, the new moon is about attracting what it is that you want and really putting that like manifestation, that intention into the universe. During the full moon, however, it's an entirely different story. The full moon, as opposed to the new moon, is all about reflection, reprioritization, and gratitude. And I think that when I created my video on the lunar journaling before, I had talked more about the celebration aspect of the full moon, which it is. It's about feeling very thankful, feeling grateful for how far you've come, how you've changed, how you've grown. But I think I emphasized the celebratoriness of it a lot, and I think that that kind of confused people, especially when it comes to goal setting, because it is true that during the new moon you set your intentions, and then during the full moon, which is like about 2 weeks later, you celebrate how far you've come. And I think that people are like, how can you achieve a goal within 2 weeks? And I think it depends on your goal. And I think that for this particular video, I really wanted to emphasize that there are plenty of new moons and full moons, and the things that you manifest or set as far as goals go during the new moon, say in January, might not be fulfilled until the full moon in June. That's just kind of an idea there. You don't have to achieve your goals within 2 weeks. Some of those goals are going to be impossible to achieve in 2 weeks, which is why we use these lunar cycles and these phases to help us reflect, express gratitude, and set intentions, but you don't necessarily have to achieve all of your goals within a 2-week time period. So for the rest of this video, I'm actually going to split it up into 2 categories, the full moon and the new moon, and I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about what you can do for both, and then at the end we'll re-emphasize that idea of transition, of time, and then kind of better articulate how, again, you don't have to achieve your goals within 2 weeks, but how you can use the full moon and new moon to journal and really focus on what it is you want in order to achieve it sometime down the road. Okay, so for this part of the video, we're going to be talking about journaling with the new moon. So the new moon, like I mentioned before, is all about intention setting, goal setting, and manifesting. The new moon is very much a time of like looking at your life and saying, what is it that I want and how can I achieve it? And that's one of my favorite things to journal about, because I think that there is always something that we can improve, something we can work towards, some goal that we can have for ourselves, and I really enjoy journaling during this time period because it helps me to feel more aligned with the universe and what's happening, but it also reminds me to take a step back every single month and really think, what is it that I want? What do I want to achieve? And then a month later, my goals and wants are going to be different. I mean, there's some things that are going to be overarching that stay the same, but in the short term, there are certain short-term goals that are going to be different between 1 month and the next. I think it's really important to emphasize time here because I know that a lot of people got very, very confused in my last video regarding the time periods. So I want to emphasize right now that when you journal for the new moon, you can talk about goals that could take you weeks, could take you months, could take you years. A goal of mine is to publish like 3 to 4 more books, at least as far as I know. I have like that many planned. But there's no way I could do that in a 2-week period, like at all, and I certainly can't even do it in a few months or even a year. So this is something that's going to be a very long-term goal for me. A short-term goal, however, for me is going to be planting my garden, getting it going, just taking care of my garden because it is April and now is the time to start up a garden where I live. And so this is something that is much more short term and something that I could probably achieve within the next 2 weeks as far as like planting goes. The garden will not flourish in that amount of time, but you get the idea. So one of the most important things to do when you're journaling with the new moon is to write down your goals, whether this be your 2-week goals, 1-month goal, 3-month goal, 6-month, a year, 2 years. I mean, there's plenty of like different time periods you could choose depending on what your goals are. As I mentioned, for me, I want to write like 4 to 5 more books, and that's going to take years. But in the short term, garden. And if we're looking at a month ahead, I would say I would love to go travel somewhere, or at least raise the money. I say raise, save the money to travel somewhere, perhaps over the summer or just in May after the semester's over, and me and my friends or me and my significant other can go travel somewhere. But these are like different types of goals that are all going to happen at different times in my life. I also think it's important when you're journaling with the new moon to figure out what zodiac sign it is happening in. Again, if you're spiritual, I think this could be very beneficial to you, even if you don't really know much about the signs. There's plenty of resources online. I don't have a lot, but I do have a base knowledge, and I'm going to kind of explain it here, of how you can journal with the energy that comes along with the zodiac sign in the new moon. So let's say that there is a new moon in Aries. Well, this happened recently, by the way. A new moon in Aries is going to feel very like energetic. There's a lot of action and potential behind this particular energy when it comes to the new moon. Whereas, say, a new moon in Taurus is going to feel much more stable, secure, and be more materialistic or material in like the way that you are approaching that goal. I like to look less at the sign exactly and more at the element that is behind the sign, because for me personally, I don't know quite enough to journal on my own without looking up other resources, which is why I highly recommend you do so. If there is a new moon in Gemini, I'm going to go online and look up new moon in Gemini, like what kind of energy does this attract, to better understand what I should be journaling about, what I should be focusing on, and how that energy might impact me for the month ahead. But as a baseline, like a basic knowledge for how you can use this energy when you are journaling, I like to look at the elements. So fire, earth, air, and water. I feel like I'm about to do the opening lines of Avatar: The Last Airbender. But yes, so I like to look at the energy behind it. So if we have a new moon in Taurus, it's going to be earth energy. So I'm thinking very grounded, more material world, like what I can physically see, touch, smell, hear, etc. Maybe I'll be journaling more about dates I can go on, places I can go with my friends, meals I could make, just like different things that I could focus on that are more physical in nature. Versus, say, a water sign. If the new moon is in a water sign, I'll be thinking more about emotions, relationships, and creativity and how I express myself emotionally. So I kind of like to look at it that way. I'll put up on the screen some little, like, keywords, key phrases of things that you could journal about using the elements. Again, this will kind of change and become more specific depending on the zodiac sign that you use, but I do think that it's very helpful to journal with the zodiac sign in mind when you're journaling on the new moon. So of course, there are certain prompts that I pretty much always gravitate towards when I journal on the new moon or the full moon, and so I'm going to give you the new moon journal prompts right now. I'm going to put them up on the screen and I'm going to read them out loud just so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. I have 3 prompts here, but I actually use plenty of others, again, depending on the zodiac sign that the new moon falls under, depending on what's currently going on in my life, and just, yeah, basically that. So here are some of the prompts. First, what do I hope to manifest in blank time period? So that could be in 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year. It just kind of depends on how big your goal is and how long you think it'll take you. The next prompt is, what can I do each day to work towards that goal? So for me, if I am working on my writing, I'm going to say, let's write 1,000 to 2,000 words a day, for example, to get closer and closer to that 5-book publication goal that I have. And the third prompt is there an area in my life that needs attention right now? How can I better heal that area of life? Now this last prompt is actually a very prominent one in my journaling because I do look to self-improve, to improve my surroundings, and just improve how I communicate and express myself daily in my life. So I always like to look at, during the new moon, at what area of my life I can improve. I'm looking at what areas of life am I neglecting, am I not paying attention to, are kind of toxic, etc., etc. So for example, this could be like finances. Maybe I'm spending too willy-nilly, maybe I'm becoming too stingy with my money. Or alternatively, it could be with friendships. Like, who am I talking to? Who am I neglecting? Am I neglecting family because I'm spending too much time with friends? Is it the opposite? And so I kind of like to seek out balance, and this is one of the ways that I figure out where I am imbalanced, where I've been paying too much attention or not enough attention. Again, I do kind of like to use the zodiac sign association for insight here. So say if it's a Taurus new moon, I can look at it and be like, okay, let's focus on finances, maybe the aesthetics of my current environment. Should I do like a redecorating thing? Like, what's going on? Alternatively, if I were to use, say, Scorpio, like a Scorpio new moon, I could look at what should I leave behind in order to move forward, what needs to end in my life, what's toxic that I need to let go of so I can become a better version of myself. So new moon journal prompts like that. Okay, so we've talked about the new moon, let's talk about the full moon. And this is the one I think I need to give a lot of attention to because in my previous video, I was not clear about it. I know I keep saying that. Again, you can watch the video if you want. I don't really remember how it went, but I do remember that there was like this idea of celebration that I put into the full moon, which is true, it is a time of celebration, but I think it's more than just that, and I think that I want to course correct here and tell you exactly what the full moon is for and how you can journal with it. So As a reminder, the full moon is all about reflection, reprioritization, and gratitude. This is a time period where you have the opportunity to reflect on how you've been working towards your goals. You don't have to have accomplished them by now, though if they're a short-term goal, like say planting the seeds for my garden and getting it started up, that's something that I was very capable of doing within a 2-week time period. So after 2 weeks and the full moon comes, I could be like, did I actually accomplish that? Same thing for, like, say if you wanted to paint a wall in your house. It's pretty, well, fairly easy to go to the store, buy some paint, and paint your walls. And heck, even starting is really good when you're looking at your progress. And so I think when it comes to the full moon, it's a good time to reflect on what you've accomplished, how far you've come, how you've changed, how you've grown, and what you were able to accomplish within the 2-week time period or even further than that. We can look at the full moons from a greater lens than just a 1-month time period. You can look at the full moon like, oh, how have I changed from this full moon to the previous one? Like, how have I changed in that 1 month like time span? But you can also look at it like, how have I changed since the year began in January? Or how have I moved towards this very long-term goal that I set for myself during the Aries new moon or during the Taurus new moon or whatever. This is really heavily dependent on the reflection that you intend to do and what kind of goals you want to focus on. And so I think that's why journaling during the new moon is so important, at least for me, because I find that during the full moon it's more about reflection. So I'm going back, I'm flipping through my journal, rereading certain goals and things I've written down and seeing how I've changed, how I've grown, and how I've moved forward. This is where it's extremely crucial to understand that when you're doing full moon journaling, you have to look at it from a very broad lens. I just hit my elbow. You have to look at it from a large overview. You have to pick which month you want to reflect on. Do you want to look at where you were 6 months ago, 3 months ago, 1 month ago, maybe a year ago? It's up to you to decide where you want to examine your progress. If I were to do it right now, like let's say the full moon was today, and I wanted to look at how I've changed in the last 6 months, well, I have to do some math, so hold on. It is April, so March, February, January, December, November, October. So how I've changed in October? Okay. Back in October, I wasn't very great at tarot reading. I knew certain cards, I knew the major arcana, but I did not really understand quartz or minor arcana, and I certainly was way too skittish to give actual readings to other people. And I've been giving readings to people I barely know, and it's been pretty successful, and I know a lot more now about the tarot than I ever did back 6 months ago. Also, I published a book within that 6-month time period, so that's an accomplishment, I think. And I've also started another book, so those are some pretty cool accomplishments, and as far as I view. That's a small example of how I might have changed from 6 months ago. We could look at more personal examples, so maybe I feel more confident in what I wear and how I present myself to other people. I've been exploring my sense of fashion. I've been exploring, my art and how I want to decorate my space, and I've been putting that expression out into the world, and I've really kind of grown as a person, gained confidence from it, and just feel overall much more happier to be able to express me, like I'm not hiding from that. And that's a much more personal example of how I've changed within the past 6 months. And if it was a full moon today and I was journaling about that, then I would probably mention those kinds of things, how my relationships have changed and how I've grown as a person. So really, whenever there's a full moon and you plan to journal, I think you should look at whatever's weighing heavily on your heart, specifically the things that you're like, wow, I did that. I conquered something. I conquered a fear. I have changed. I have accepted myself more. Those kinds of things. Of course, very similarly to the new moon, using zodiac signs to help you journal is also a really great way to go about it. So if you don't really know what area of life you want to reflect on, then this is a great way to start. If it's a full moon in Cancer, maybe you're going to look at your emotional state and how you emotionally interact with others, what makes you feel sensitive, but also makes you feel more romantic. If you're looking at a full moon in Libra, you could look at how you've created more balance in your life, or maybe if you've fallen out of balance, and then reflect on how you might improve that in the future, that kind of thing. And of course, one of the best things to do during the full moon when it comes to journaling is to express gratitude. Gratitude is just a really great way to feel feel more abundant and happy with your life. I think a lot of times it's easy for people to get caught up in the things that aren't working and to get caught up in negativity. And the issue with this is that the negativity just grows and grows and grows. When you continue to feed it, then you continue to feel it. And that's not saying that gratitude will greatly improve your life, but I do think there's some kind of like happiness and joy that can come from, being grateful for what you do have. And it can be simple. It can be something like, I'm just grateful to have my cat. Yes, she's a menace. Yes, she breaks my stuff, but she's also a really good friend as far as pets go. If you have a pet, you know what I'm talking about. Or you could say like, I am grateful that I have the time to be creative, or I am grateful for having a garden, or I am grateful for being able to journal like once a month and improve my sense of self and, really grow my identity and step into who I want to be, if that makes sense. So these are kinds of things, those are things that I'm grateful for personally, so that's why I'm mentioning them. But you could pick all kinds of things. I'm grateful for my friends, my family, for my new car, if you got a new car. It can be materialistic. It doesn't have to be like some big in-depth thing. You could even be grateful for the new pair of earrings you got, or you could be grateful for the new meal you were able to prepare recently that you're so proud of. Honestly, just finding gratitude in the little things can make a big difference. And I personally really enjoy it because it makes me feel lighter and happier in life, and it helps me to get away from the negativity that can sometimes hold me back from progress. If you're looking for more ways to journal with gratitude, I think I have a video on this. If I do, I'll put it up in the cards and down in the description box. If I don't, I will link something very similar that might go over a little bit more. Alright, now I wanted to give you a few journal prompts to walk away with for full moon journaling. So I'm going to go ahead and put them up on the screen and read them out loud for you so that way you can participate in that activity. So the first prompt for the full moon is, how have I grown and changed in the past month, 6 months, a year? Honestly, swap that out with any time period that you prefer. Next, what challenges have I faced recently? And what have they taught me? And lastly, what have I manifested recently? How has my hard work paid off? Those are some of the prompts I like to use during the full moon, especially when it comes to tracking my progress, reflecting, and of course reprioritizing. Again, I do think there is a sense of celebration, of course, that comes with the full moon. It's lovely to know how far you've come and to see how your hard work has paid off. And I think that this is a time to dance and to sing and to be happy and to really reflect on how you've grown. And you know what? Even if you haven't made a lot of progress in the way that you thought you would, you've probably made progress irregardless. A good example for me is I have been in writer's block for a while, and I thought I wasn't making any progress. And every time I was like, okay, my goal for the new moon is to write at least 5 chapters before the next new moon or something. And then a couple full moons later, I hadn't even written a single chapter. And I was like, wow, I'm not making any progress. I feel defeated. I don't think this is very celebratory. And then I thought about it, and I was like, even though I haven't been writing, I've been daydreaming, I've been plotting, I've been exploring the characters in my imagination, and yes, I haven't written anything, but I've still been making progress even though it's not visible or tangible progress. And I think we have to look at things like that too. Sometimes the goals we set for ourselves and the path that we create to achieve those goals, we don't always follow it, but that doesn't mean that we're failing. And I think it's very important to look at the full moon in that sort of lens as well. To look at how you've made progress, even if it's not the type of progress that you thought you wanted to make or that you laid out for yourself. And I think that celebrating those small wins, even if they're not the wins we expected, is very important. Anyway, that is all I have for you guys today. I hope that this helped a little bit. I tried to add some clarity, to bring some clarity to the full moon versus new moon situation. I highly recommend using both if you're going to get into journaling. It's really nice to kind of attach yourself to cycles of nature, whether spiritual or not. I just find that it's very comforting and it makes you feel more connected to the world around you. And of course, if you are more spiritual, then I really find that it's helpful when it comes to growth and to progression and just really connecting yourself to divinity or any other outside force of nature that we can't quite control. I also find journaling with the moon phases to be very inspiring and to help me address areas of my life that I probably wouldn't have addressed otherwise. So I definitely recommend looking into the zodiac signs when you are journaling for the new or full moon, and to consider what areas of life you want to improve in, how you've grown, and all of that good stuff. Again, if you want more information, I have that lunar video that I will link below. Again, I can't promise it'll be fantastic, but I don't remember what it was like. But it was one of my most viewed videos, and I think that a lot of people found it to be very helpful. I think. I can't be sure. Anyway, thank you again for watching, and until next time, I will catch you later.